So we are live. It's live from the studios in Aberdeen. Here we go. So we're going to do a correlation. So you can see lots of buttons here at the top. The one to go to is analyze, and then you go to correlate, and it's bivariate. That's what you want. And just reset that. I've been playing around with it. So all the variables that you can correlate are here, so you need to select the ones you want. So it'll be, I'll stick that one in there as well. All of them. And then extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, openness. So now it gives you different kinds of correlation coefficients: Pearson, Kendall's, and Spearman. Do you know which one we should choose?
No.
So it's essentially, I've actually
Pearson, yeah.
Oh, I've never used this one myself. Usually the differences between Pearson and Spearman. Now, whether or not you choose this one or that one, it depends on whether your data are ordinal or interval. Do you know the difference between the two?
I can't remember. The only thing I know that we did Pearson, so I don't know the difference between the other one.
So orders. Well, let's start with the ones you use for Pearson. Pearson's correlation coefficient you use when you have interval data. And interval data are data where the difference between each point on a scale is the same. For example, temperature. The difference between 10 degrees is the same as between 10 and 15 is the same as between 15 and 20. No, I don't want to keep the color scheme. I'm happy with my colors, right? And many actually of the things that we measure, like the questionnaires, they're not interval, because you can't say that somebody who scores, say, 4 on extraversion is half as extrovert as somebody with an 8.
Okay.
But it's not the same.
Something like depends.
It's more like you can say somebody is more extrovert than the other person, but not so twice as extrovert. And the difference between say 4 and 8 on extroversion is not the same as between 8 and 12. So you have to use Spearman's instead. So it's an ordinal measure that you have. Your data are ordinal. So when they're ordinal, you use Spearman. It sort of does the same thing roughly, and usually the data are not, the results don't come out that different, but it's just a more conservative, a more careful way of analyzing it. So this is the one we take. Two-tailed, because we know the difference between one-tailed and two-tailed.
With positives and negatives, I mean numbers.
So if you have a one-tailed hypothesis, then you predict in a certain direction. So you predict that there will be a positive correlation between this and that. Whereas with two-tailed, all you know is there will be a correlation, but we don't know which way it's going to go. So that's what we have to do. Just leave that as it is, and then we click OK. Boom, boom, boom. Just checking whether we're still recording. That's good. so you get this. It's very handy table. Let's move that to the side. Do you know how to read this table? What does it mean? Yeah.
We maybe should choose two groups. No, or that we can know.
So these are your results, actually. The positive thing is that half of this table it duplicates. So if you see that row of ones, actually you can ignore everything below that because it's the same on both sides.
Okay.
So you only need this triangle here. That's good news. So what it shows you is, for example, that people's tendency to feel like a foreigner in the UK, how that is correlated with the other variables here. So these three you can sort of ignore. And all the ones with a little star above it, they are significant correlations. So for instance, you can see, what do you think you can see here in this little box? So that's the correlation between feeling like a foreigner in the UK and having many British friends. How would you interpret that little box?
Okay, so since there is a correlation between two of them, it means that people who what's that one?
Who feeling foreign in the UK.
Yeah, they actually have British friends, or is that the opposite?
But what sort of, is that positive or negative?
No, it's negative.
Negative.
Yeah.
So negative correlation means when one goes up, the other goes down.
Yeah.
So in this case, people who feel foreign in the UK have
their own okay, they don't have British friends.
Yeah, so they have the more foreign they feel, the fewer British friends they've got.
So, yeah.
Or the other way around, the more so the less foreign you feel, the more British friends. So when one goes up, the other one goes down. So that's what that means. So you can, in the same way, so look through all of these correlations and see what's happened, and in particular look for, so that's what we actually predicted, so whether these four correlate with anything. It's a pity that it's such a long table because you can't get them all in the same view, but one thing I thought was quite interesting, because I looked at this before, looking at sort of neuroticism actually correlates positively with that one, which is, let's see, feeling foreign. So people who are more neurotic, who score higher in neuroticism, are more likely to say that they feel like a foreigner in the UK. So we have to think about why that is. Obviously you don't know, because it's a correlation. You can't say one thing caused the other thing. All you know is that they're related. But there may be some things in neurotic people that make them a bit suspicious of other people, and weird British people with putting vinegar on their chips and everything. Can't trust them. But maybe it's being feeling foreign, maybe that makes you neurotic. So we can't say which way it's going to go, or we can describe what's actually going on. So that's your job for the next week or so, is actually going through this table and making sense of what's going on, and so writing that down, saying what do you think has happened. Some of these correlate with others a lot. For example, you see lots of correlations there. So that's seeing yourself as British. Obviously that's one of the core questions that we asked. All these other ones are probably part of that question. So it's quite logical that one correlates a lot. So for instance, seeing yourself as British is positively correlated with Britain being part of you. So that's what you would expect, because they're asking almost the same question. But not just look at all the significant ones, but also which ones are not significant, and is that perhaps surprising or not. Of course, if you don't find a significant correlation, it doesn't mean there is no correlation. All you can say is that there's no evidence that we had a correlation in this case. Does that sound like a plan for the coming week?
Yes,
yeah?
of course. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
So I'd really like you to give this a shot yourself. So we have saved. I shall stop the recording now. So we end. So that was us from the studios in Aberdeen. Goodbye for now.